Have you ever stopped to wonder if the world is a stage and everyone around you is playing a role? The colleague who's always cheerful, the stranger avoiding eye contact, even your closest friends. Each of them might be wearing a mask, hiding their true feelings and intentions. Imagine a friend who always says, "I'm fine," with a tight-lipped smile that doesn't quite reach their eyes. Or a colleague whose over-the-top confidence might actually be masking insecurities. These subtle signals are all around us, waiting to be decoded. But here's the catch. What if you had the ability to see beyond these masks? To understand not just what people are saying, but what they're really feeling. This isn't just some mystical ability. It's a skill that can be learned and honed. And guess what? The ancient Stoics, masters of understanding human nature, had powerful techniques to uncover the truth. Techniques that help you not only read others, but also remain unshaken by their actions. Today, we're diving into 3 transformative Stoic practices that will change the way you see the world and the people in it. By the end of this video, you'll have tools to decode hidden emotions, understand motivations, and connect with authenticity. So, whether you're navigating a crowded street, sitting in a boardroom, or simply engaging in everyday conversations, these techniques will empower you to see people and yourself in a whole new light. Ready to decode the human experience? Let's begin. The Tell Me More technique. Let's begin with a deceptively simple yet incredibly powerful tool. Tell me more. At first glance, it might seem too easy to be effective. Just 3 little words. But these words hold the key to unlocking someone's inner world. Let me show you how. Picture this. You're locked in a heated debate about the age-old question, does pineapple belong on pizza? Your instinct might be to double down on your opinion. Instead, you pause, lean back, and with a curious smile you say, "Tell me more." What happens next is fascinating. The person pauses, surprised by your openness. Instead of defending their stance, they start to explain. "You know, growing up, we'd have pizza nights every Friday. My dad loved Hawaiian pizza, and it became this little tradition." Just like that, the conversation shifts. What started as a trivial debate transforms into a deeper connection. Their words reveal not just their preference for pineapple, but a glimpse into their values, memories, and even what makes them feel at home. This technique isn't limited to casual conversations. Imagine using it in a high-stakes business setting. I once sat in a tense negotiation where the other side was pushing aggressively for their terms. Instead of pushing back, I calmly said, "Tell me more." The room fell silent for a moment, and then they started talking, explaining their reasoning, their concerns, and even revealing their long-term goals. By the end of the meeting, they had inadvertently laid out their entire strategy. Now, this wasn't manipulation. It was connection. The kind of connection Stoicism teaches us to value. Empathy without attachment. When you're genuinely curious, people sense it. Their defenses drop, and their true thoughts and motivations begin to emerge. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself first, what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" This is the essence of empathy without attachment. By choosing curiosity over judgment, you stop seeing the other person as an opponent. Instead, they become a puzzle, a story waiting to be understood. So the next time you find yourself in a debate, a negotiation, or even a simple chat, remember these 3 words, "Tell me more." You'll be amazed at how quickly people open up when they feel truly heard. And as they do, you gain not only insight into their world, but also the calm confidence of someone who sees the bigger picture. That's Stoicism in action, listening deeply, connecting authentically, and staying grounded no matter what you uncover. 2. Watch how they treat people in lesser positions. If you truly want to understand someone's character, don't just focus on how they treat you. Pay attention to how they treat those they believe are beneath them, those with less power, influence, or status. This test is simple, yet its revelations can be profound. I learned this lesson the hard way. There was a colleague of mine, let's call him Paul, who always seemed the perfect gentleman. To me, and anyone else he wanted to impress, he was charming, courteous, even generous. But one day during lunch, I saw a different side of him. Paul snapped at the waiter for bringing the wrong drink. His tone was cutting, his words dismissive, and he didn't even look the waiter in the eye. That moment was a wake-up call. The polite facade he showed me wasn't his true self. His real character was revealed in how he treated someone he believed didn't matter. The Stoics remind us to observe people without rushing to judgment. Actions like these, moments of kindness or cruelty, are windows into a person's inner world. When someone is kind to everyone, regardless of their status, it reveals a sense of security and humility. But when someone disrespects or belittles others, it often reflects their own insecurities projected outward. Think of it this way. If a person is cruel to a janitor, a waiter, or a student, what will they do when they no longer need you? That behavior isn't just a red flag. It's a warning signal about their character. Epictetus, born a slave, understood this deeply. He taught that dignity isn't tied to power or wealth. It's in how we behave toward others, especially those who cannot benefit us. A person who treats everyone with respect embodies the Stoic ideal, living virtuously not for appearances, but because it's the right thing to do. So what can we do with this insight? First, use it as a lens to evaluate the people around you, not in a judgmental way, but to understand their true nature. Second, let it guide your own actions. The next time you encounter someone in a service role, pause and reflect. How you treat them says as much about you as it does about them. Remember, small actions speak volumes. As Stoicism teaches, true virtue lies not in grand gestures, but in everyday choices. A simple thank you, a moment of patience, or a kind word can transform not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. 3. Their past shapes their present. Have you ever met someone whose behavior seemed puzzling? Maybe they were overly cautious, quick to anger, or seemed distant for no apparent reason. Often the answer lies in their past. Every choice, every reaction, every hesitation, it's all part of a story written long before you met them. I once had a friend who struggled to trust anyone. At first, I thought it was just their personality. Maybe they were naturally skeptical. But over time, their story unfolded. They'd been betrayed, not once but multiple times, in business deals that left them financially and emotionally drained. It wasn't that they didn't want to trust. They couldn't. Their past experiences had etched caution and self-preservation deep into their behavior. And this isn't unique to them. It's true for all of us. Our behaviors are often shaped by patterns we learned long ago. The friend who always seeks approval? They may have grown up in a household where love was conditional. The coworker who lashes out under pressure? Perhaps they've lived in environments where survival meant fighting back. But here's where Stoicism offers a powerful perspective. It doesn't ask us to excuse behavior blindly, but to understand it. To look beyond the surface and see people as they truly are. Flawed, shaped by their history, but also capable of change. The Stoics believed in the power of reflection, not just for ourselves, but in how we view others. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, wrote, "Whenever you are offended, remember that it is your judgment that is the cause of the offense." When we understand that people's actions are often the result of their own struggles, we can approach them with empathy, not resentment. This doesn't mean we ignore harm or let our boundaries be crossed. Empathy doesn't require us to accept toxic behavior, but it does help us respond with wisdom. Understanding someone's past allows us to decide, do we offer support, or do we step away for our own peace of mind? Here's the beauty of this perspective. When you see how someone's past has shaped their present, it also opens the door to growth, for them and for you. The friend who was betrayed can learn to trust again. The colleague who lashes out can develop patience. And you gain the ability to navigate relationships with clarity and compassion, guided by the wisdom of Stoicism. 4. Pay attention to the subtle cues. People rarely say exactly what they feel, but their bodies almost always tell the truth. Stoicism teaches us to observe the world calmly and without judgment, an approach that's especially useful when it comes to understanding others. By focusing on subtle cues, body language, micro-expressions, tone of voice, even the pauses in a conversation, you can uncover the emotions people often try to hide. Take crossed arms as an example. On the surface, it might seem like defensiveness, but context matters. Are they leaning back because they feel threatened? Or are they simply cold and trying to stay warm? Now add a tight-lipped smile and a slight shift in their chair. Suddenly, the picture becomes clearer. They might be feeling discomfort or resistance to what's being said. I remember a meeting where everyone seemed agreeable. Heads were nodding, polite smiles all around. It looked like a smooth discussion, until I noticed one person's foot tapping under the table, rapidly, almost anxiously. Their silence wasn't agreement. It was frustration. Sure enough, later on, they pulled me aside to express their strong disagreement. Their body had spoken long before their words did. It wasn't about distrust. It was about paying attention to what most people overlook. These subtle cues, the nervous gestures, the faltering tone, the unintentional glance, are tiny signals of what's happening beneath the surface. Stoic philosophy emphasizes seeing the whole picture. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe things as they are, in their entirety." It's not just about noticing one gesture, but understanding it in context. For example, a colleague rubbing their temples might be stressed, or they could just have a headache. A direct question followed by hesitation might indicate deception, or simply the need for time to think. When you observe without emotional interference, you see the patterns emerge. This isn't about suspicion or overanalyzing. It's about clarity. People leak truths in subtle ways. By observing calmly, you gather information most people miss. Not to judge, but to understand. In a tense negotiation, this skill can help you read the room. In a personal relationship, it can reveal when someone is struggling but doesn't know how to express it. And in everyday life, it helps you stay present and aware, grounded in the moment instead of lost in assumptions. The lesson here is simple, but powerful. Observe the whole, not just the part. A foot tapping might mean frustration or too much caffeine. Avoiding eye contact could be a sign of dishonesty or just shyness. When you observe patiently and without judgment, you can respond wisely rather than reacting impulsively. The subtle cues are there for anyone willing to see them. All it takes is presence, patience, and a stoic mindset. The more you practice this, the more you'll understand people, not just their words, but their truths. 5. The power of pauses and silence. Silence is powerful. Most people fear it. They rush to fill the void with words, explanations, or reassurances. But Stoicism teaches us something different. It teaches us to embrace pauses, to find meaning not just in what is said, but in what isn't. I once used this technique during a particularly challenging negotiation. The other party presented their offer, then stopped speaking. Instead of rushing to respond, I did something unexpected. I let the silence linger. Seconds ticked by. What happened next was fascinating. They began justifying their position, revealing far more about their needs, constraints, and priorities than they intended. That pause, it was my greatest ally. The lesson here isn't about manipulation. It's about patience, about letting silence work for you. Because in that stillness, people reveal truths they might otherwise keep hidden. When you let silence do the work, it creates a space that compels people to fill it. And in doing so, they often expose their fears, insecurities, or even hidden motives. It's not magic, it's human nature. Pausing gives you time to observe, reflect, and respond thoughtfully, skills that are central to the Stoic way of life. Think about the last time you were in a conversation and felt the urge to jump in the moment there was silence. Why is that? For most of us, silence feels uncomfortable. It's like an empty space begging to be filled. But Stoicism invites us to see silence not as emptiness, but as an opportunity. In a job interview, the candidate who speaks too quickly might reveal their uncertainty. In a group discussion, the silent observer gathers insights others miss. And in a personal conversation, holding space for silence can encourage someone to open up more deeply. In our relationships, pauses and silence can be an act of kindness. When we resist the urge to interrupt or rush someone's thoughts, we create a safe space for honesty and connection. A well-timed pause can say, "I'm here, I'm listening," and that can be more powerful than any words. The Stoics understood the value of silence. As Seneca said, "It is a great thing to know how to keep quiet, even greater, how to speak." Silence isn't about withholding, it's about wielding your words wisely. Sometimes the most impactful statement is the one left unsaid. This is the power of pauses. In an argument, a pause can prevent escalation. In a negotiation, it can shift the balance of power. And in everyday conversations, it gives you time to think, ensuring your words align with your intentions. Pauses are not just gaps, they are tools. They create clarity, foster understanding, and reveal truths. They're a hallmark of the Stoic practice of deliberate action. Silence and pauses are more than conversational strategies. They're reflections of a calm, centered mind. The next time you feel the urge to rush into speech, try this. Pause, breathe, and let the silence work. You might be surprised by what you discover. 6. See through the lens of Stoic objectivity. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the concept of objectivity, the art of seeing things as they are, free from the distortions of our desires, fears, or preconceived notions. This principle doesn't just apply to life's challenges. It's equally powerful when applied to people. To truly understand someone, you must set aside your biases and approach every interaction with a calm, curious mind. Imagine this. Someone is raising their voice at you, clearly upset. Your instinct might be to react in kind, to defend yourself or argue back. But Stoic objectivity asks something different of you. Instead of reacting emotionally, observe. Ask yourself, is their anger truly directed at you? Or are they battling frustrations from somewhere else? Is this anger, or is it fear wearing a different mask? Often, what appears as an attack is just an outpouring of someone's own insecurities or unmet needs. Stoicism doesn't ask us to judge or label emotions. It asks us to understand them. A crying child isn't just being dramatic. They're expressing loss in the only way they know how. A sigh from a tired cashier isn't rudeness. It's a reflection of exhaustion. When you approach these situations with objectivity, you stop taking things personally. You stop reacting and start responding with insight and compassion. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we cannot control others' actions or emotions, only our perception of them. This truth is liberating. When you free yourself from the need to control or judge, you gain clarity, and with clarity comes strength. In relationships, this objectivity allows you to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. A frustrated mentee might seem disrespectful at first glance, but through the Stoic lens, you recognize their fear of failure. You respond not to their outburst, but to the need hiding beneath it. Stoic objectivity doesn't make you cold or detached. It makes you insightful. It allows you to meet people where they are, without losing your own sense of balance. This isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about responding to it wisely. It's about understanding what drives people, even when their actions seem irrational. I once witnessed a manager resolve a tense workplace dispute with remarkable poise. While others were caught up in the emotions of the moment, this manager remained calm. They listened without interruption, asked clarifying questions, and reframed the situation objectively. By the end, not only was the conflict resolved, but both parties felt heard and respected. That's the power of Stoic objectivity in action. Objectivity isn't about shutting people out. It's about seeing them clearly. When you let go of your biases and judgments, you gain the ability to navigate relationships with grace and wisdom. You become the calm in the storm, the steady presence that others can rely on. The next time you find yourself in a challenging interaction, pause, step back, observe through the lens of Stoic objectivity. You'll not only see the situation more clearly, you'll see the person more fully. Now that we've explored these techniques, let's bring them into real life. Here are a few scenarios where you can practice reading people without them knowing. 1. In business negotiations. Use the tell me more technique to uncover hidden priorities. Pay attention to body language. Are they leaning forward eagerly, or are their arms crossed in resistance? And don't forget the power of silence. It can often lead to unintentional revelations. 2. In friendships or dating. Watch how they treat others, especially in unguarded moments. Are they kind to strangers? Do they show empathy? This reveals whether their goodness is genuine or performative. 3. In everyday conversations. Listen not just to words, but to tone, pauses, and what's left unsaid. Is someone overly agreeable? They might be hiding discomfort. Are they interrupting? Perhaps they're anxious to assert themselves. Reading people isn't about manipulation, it's about connection. When we truly understand others, we create space for deeper relationships and greater empathy. And in the process, we gain insight into ourselves. The Stoics believed that wisdom comes from observing life with calm clarity. By applying these techniques, you're not just seeing through the masks people wear, you're learning to navigate the world with wisdom and grace. If this video resonated with you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might need it, and hit that subscribe button for more Stoic philosophy and practical wisdom. Until next time, remember, the more you see in others, the more you'll discover about yourself.